Welcome, Dr. James Beckett, Sports Card Insights, another melancholy episode. Dave Parker has passed away at the age of 74 on Saturday. I'll never forget where I was. I was actually at the podium with Rich Klein, and we were addressing SABR, the Society of American Baseball Research 53rd annual meeting. I've always been a big fan of SABR, and Rich has been a longtime participant at SABR. So we were up there addressing and answering, and all of a sudden my phone pinged, and there were hundreds of people in the audience. Everybody's phone pinged because they are all huge baseball fans, and the news that Dave Parker had passed away. And we were in the AMA, Ask Me Anything question and answer session that we had, and they said, well, what do you think about that? And of course, I was a childhood Pirate fan. That still lingers. I always sat in right field, more so because of Clemente. Parker was essentially my age, a little bit younger than me, so I definitely saw him in his prime. But Clemente was my guy growing up, and he had the unfortunate situation to play the same position as my favorite player, but he was great. And he had a period there where he was as good as anybody in the game, really the late 70s. Then he had some off years, and then he came back, and on balance, he had a great career, but he had such excellence in the late 70s. It set a tone that probably led to disappointment of the Pirate fans after they had won the World Series in 79 with Stargell. Also, he was in the shadow of Stargell to some degree. But Dave Parker was a star in his own right. But thanks sponsors, Topps Panini, Upper Deck, Heritage Auctions, Harvey Scott Auctions, Mike Stadium Sports Cards, Burbank Sports Cards, ComC.com, and Beckett Media, Beckett Grading, Beckett Authentication. The SABR crowd, they were asking about a lot of other things, but as soon as that happened, it turned to not so much cards, but cards and autographs and autograph cards. What did I think about the gouging that always occurs, it seems like, when a star passes away suddenly? And I answered it in two parts. One, it's always a compliment for a player, a celebrity, anybody to be asked for their autograph. And for somebody to pay for it, that's even more. And to pay more if the person has passed away when there's no more supply, that is reasonable. What is not reasonable is gouging. If you double and triple, especially when it's going to invariably come back down after the smoke clears, after the recent memory. So I am absolutely against gouging, but I can appreciate that when people give scrutiny to Dave Parker's career, the balance of his numbers, not just the great excellence he had in the late 70s, but the other good years he had. And when you add it all up, it was a great career and a worthy Hall of Famer. Even coming through the Veterans Committee, there's different standards there when you reflect back, and you can see his ups and downs, but mostly ups, and ups when it was important to come through. So a leader pretty much of every team that he was on. The corollary to the gouging of the autograph prices is people making lowball offers on eBay or ComC lots that I might have. And I'm just thinking, wow, I don't want to raise the price, but are you really thinking that now I'm going to sell you this autograph of Dave Parker that's been listed for a year at a reasonable price, and you want to make me a low offer for that? That's frustrating on the other side. Dave Parker coming up with a rookie card in 74 Topps, really, if he'd been 73, could have been in the high numbers like Mike Schmidt, but 74 really were not issued in series. Essentially, they all came out. You could get factory sets. And so no cards really are scarce in that series, and that depresses his rookie card price. There's always been some demand for it, but since he was not in the Hall of Fame, that held it back. And then once he got in, which really was just 6 months ago, he was elected by the Veterans Committee and going to go in for the induction. He almost made it, and that was his concern. But I guess the Parkinson's just got the better of him, and he'd started a foundation to help with that. I have other friends that have Parkinson's disease, and there have been breakthroughs that either slow it up. So the doctors and the research institutions are making some progress, but he succumbed to it, and that's very sad. When you play in the outfield for the Pirates, coming right after Clemente and Stargell, there's probably unfair comparisons. And then unfair comparisons to him from the way he started his first 5 years. Lots of people think if you win world championships in any sport, that's a key indicator of the value of your cards and memorabilia. But I think if you're just a hanger-on, if you're not a key contributor or the best player on the team, how many rings you have is not as important to me. But if you look at his MVP ballots over the years. In 74, he was a rookie. He started not strong, but I was looking it up. There were 5 Pirates in 1974 that were in the top 21 of MVPs. It was Al Oliver, Richie Zisk, Willie Stargell, Richie Hebner, Rennie Stennett. All those guys were in the top 25. And yet the 74, 5, 6, 7, 8, until 79, the Pirates were roadblocked to the World Series by the Reds. They just weren't as good as the Reds, but when Parker came to the Pirates, the cupboard was loaded. And then he went on to have 5 different top 5 MVP selections, as well as 4 more in the top 20. So 9 different years he was considered worthy to get votes. And he did win MVP in 78. He won batting titles. He won the World Series for the Pirates and also for the A's. Again, had team success as well as individual success. But the fact that he didn't make the induction weekend is very sad. Dick Allen also, same situation, came in the same Veterans Committee. Hope he's appropriately honored for being a great player for a while, a good player, a disappointing player for a few years, but he finished well in terms of on the field and in life. Once he knew he had Parkinson's, he sold his business interests and started a foundation to try to make a difference. So my hat's off to that. You're not supposed to vote in the Hall of Fame voting for how good a person it is, but I think he did a lot of things right. He did get painted with the drug brush back in the early mid-'80s. His weight went up. There were allegations that he was using not performance drugs as much as recreational drugs. And it's possible that was what suffered his performance. I've said before, you can't choose your parents, and therefore you can't choose your size. If you got a big mom and a big dad, you're probably going to be big. But then you got to take care of yourself. And success is difficult. The struggle for success or the maintaining the success. His teammates liked him. He batted .290, which means almost 3 out of 10. And he probably would have batted .300. He probably played hurt. He probably stayed too long. And yet I think he loved the game. He loved sports. He was a 2-sport star growing up. He could have been Bo Jackson before Bo Jackson because he was a football running back before he hurt his knee. And he did have problems with his knees. And when you have a problem with your knee and you're a big dude like that, 6'5", 235 at least, then it's a lot of torque. When I went to the ballpark, Forbes Field originally, saw Clemente and his amazing throwing arm, amazing everything, but certainly throwing. Parker was not a second coming, but he led the majors in outfield assists over his peak period of 75 to 79, those 5 years. 26 assists in 77, which I think Clemente had 27 assists one year, but 3 gold gloves in spite of his deteriorating knees. I noticed he was a 7-time All-Star, and you think he played for 19 years and only 7 times All-Star. Sometimes that means you don't start the season as strong as you finish. I think he was more of a finisher. I remembered him more from the early 80s when he was not as fast. He was fast early in his career, and he had some knee problems and just a big guy. But he did finish with more than 150 steals. So he was a big, fast guy. He'd have been tough to bring down as a running back. Another sports card insight, my Star Company friends in a lot of sports do photo matching to see when a photo on a card was taken. In Dave Parker's case, it's possible that his 1975 Topps photo predates his 1974 Topps photo. Now, that wouldn't make it a rookie card because of the rules of rookie cards, but it might be an earlier photo. And that's a footnote, and it might add some demand, but I don't think it makes it a rookie card. And the reason you might know that is there's the Clemente memorial patch that the Pirates wore that Parker had in that photo. I would have had him in the Hall of Fame earlier. I think anytime you're considered, and from 75 to 79, he would absolutely be considered one of the very best players in baseball. And then he had some not great years. Then he goes to Cincinnati, which was his childhood home of the Big Red Machine, which they were mortal enemies of the Pirates when I was living up there. The close proximity just across the state. You really couldn't be a fan of both. But I think he had grown up in the Cincinnati area and really enjoyed that. And so then you start over. You get a fresh start. And the high expectations that the Pirates had, the Reds picked him up, and he immediately made a contribution. The hobby doesn't like it when players have a good year and a bad year and a few good years and a few bad years and all that. They really like it to start as a good player and get better each year. It'd be nice if everything was that simple. It's not. Sometimes there's injuries. There's lots of different things can happen, but that's why the hobby is dynamic. And that wreaks havoc with comps. If you're really just looking at comps without understanding the context, you're in a situation where something sold a couple of years ago when the guy was having a great season or had just done something great. So Dave Parker would have been that guy as well. The other thing, and I just was seeing this, there was a picture of Luka with a kid and probably a T-shirt on, something like that. And they're saying Luka's really lost weight. I was going to say that Dave Parker, Luka Doncic, anybody that the fans get on of thinking they're carrying too much weight, it's pretty hard to hide it in baseball, and it's really hard to hide it in basketball. You can look at before and after pictures, and you can see. Now, football, it's hard to tell because of bulky uniforms. Hockey, same thing, the sweaters, the shoulder pads, all that stuff. But baseball, if you're overweight, it's noticeable. Basketball, absolutely. It's sad that people got on him, but they got on him. I won't say it was out of love, but they wanted him to return to his glory. And he really was not able to return to on the field glory with the Pirates, but he had a moment. He had some good years with the Reds, and then he helped the A's win their world championship in '89. Finally, another Sabre connection, because I'll never forget where I was when I heard. And everybody heard at that same time, and it was just the buzz right then. And we had not a moment of silence as much as a moment of tribute. But Bill James, the guy that coined the term sabermetrics, that is also my contemporary, he was not there. But he was saying a while back that Dave Parker was the 14th best right fielder in baseball history. Now, for a 5-year period, I think he might have been the second best behind Clemente, but maybe they have Babe Ruth in right field too, so maybe that's third. It depends on what you call right fielders, but to be up there, and then all the other ones that are ahead of him were in the Hall of Fame. So I think Bill James approves, and Sabre approved. They appreciate the deeper stats in the game and the guys that contribute to winning, a guy that was a 5-tool player that could help the team win, including being liked by his teammates and adding levity and intensity in every clubhouse that he was in. But again, this is another hero gone before me, and he is younger than me. The message to all of us is take good care of ourselves. I think he did the best he could once he got Parkinson's. Some diseases, we don't know what the cause is, but do your best to act healthy, eat healthy, sleep healthy, do all the things you can, do your part, and then make the best of the hand that you're dealt. He had an amazing career, and thanks, Dave Parker, for being among us and demonstrating your talent and persevering. That's it. See you in a couple days.
The man in the house of cards. The man in the house of cards. The man in the house of cards is doing all right.